While the Bible is one of the most influential collections of texts in human history, it is also one of the most complex. Students often assume that difficulty arises primarily from theology or belief commitments, but many of the most significant challenges are historical, linguistic, literary, and textual. Recognizing these challenges is not a threat to the Bible, rather, it is a prerequisite for reading it carefully, responsibly, and honestly. Multiple authors across centuries. The Bible does not have a single author, nor was it written within a single generation. Instead, it is the product of many authors, writing across hundreds of years in different locations, under different political conditions, and for different audiences. Biblical authors address tribal societies and imperial subjects, monarchies and exilic communities, rural agrarian worlds, and urban Greco-Roman cities. As a result, the Bible reflects a development of ideas over time. Later authors often reinterpret earlier traditions, apply them to new circumstances, or even challenge previous assumptions. Expecting uniformity across such a span of time imposes a modern expectation onto an ancient collection. Multiple original languages. Another major challenge is that the Bible was written in multiple ancient languages, none of which are spoken in their biblical forms today. Hebrew is the primary language of the Hebrew Bible. Aramaic appears in portions of Daniel and Ezra, and functioned as a common spoken language in the Persian period. Greek, specifically Koine Greek, is the language of the New Testament. Each language carries its own grammar, vocabulary, idioms, and cultural assumptions. Translation is therefore not a mechanical process of word substitution, but an interpretive act that requires choices that inevitably shape meaning. Translation challenges. Translation introduces several layers of difficulty. Idioms. Ancient idioms rarely map neatly onto modern speech. Phrases that were clear to ancient audiences may sound strange, misleading, or opaque today when translated literally. Cultural assumptions. Biblical authors assume shared knowledge about family structures, social hierarchies, honor and shame, covenant obligations, and religious practices. Modern readers often lack this background, leading to misunderstandings even when the words themselves are translated accurately. Because of these challenges, no translation is entirely neutral. Every translation reflects decisions about meaning, emphasis, and readability. Diversity of literary genres. The Bible is not a single type of writing. It contains a wide diversity of literary genres, each with its own conventions and expectations. These include narrative, historical storytelling, poetry, psalms, prophetic oracles, law, legal material and covenantal instruction, epistle, letters addressing specific situations, apocalypse, symbolic visions and cosmic imagery. Reading all biblical texts in the same way leads to serious interpretive errors. Poetry is not meant to function like law. Apocalypse is not meant to be read like narrative. Understanding genre is essential for discerning authorial intent and meaning, internal tensions, and differing perspectives. Because the Bible reflects multiple authors and contexts, it also contains internal tensions and diverse perspectives. Different books sometimes address the same questions, suffering, justice, kingship, law, or faith, from markedly different angles. These differences do not indicate carelessness or contradiction in a simplistic sense. Rather, they reflect theological debate within the biblical tradition, ongoing reflection in response to new historical realities, the complexity of lived religious experience. The Bible preserves these tensions rather than resolving them, inviting readers into dialogue rather than offering simplistic answers. Textual transmission issues. The Bible was transmitted for centuries through handwritten manuscripts. There were no printing presses, no standardized editions, and no centralized editorial control for much of its history. As a result, copying errors occurred accidentally, misspellings, omissions, repetitions. Intentional changes were sometimes made to clarify meaning, harmonize passages, or reflect theological concerns. Once a change entered a manuscript, it was often copied into subsequent manuscripts. This means that modern scholars work with copies of copies, not original documents. Textual criticism seeks to compare manuscripts, identify patterns of variation, and reconstruct the earliest attainable form of the text. While this process introduces uncertainty, it also provides remarkable insight into how the Bible was preserved and valued across generations. Concluding perspective. Studying the Bible is challenging because the Bible is ancient, diverse, and historically embedded. It speaks from worlds very different from our own, in languages no longer spoken, through genres that demand careful reading, and through texts shaped by centuries of transmission. These challenges do not diminish the significance of the Bible. Instead, they remind readers that Scripture must be approached with intellectual rigor, historical sensitivity, and interpretive humility. Understanding these challenges equips students not only to read the Bible more accurately, but to appreciate the depth and richness of the tradition it represents.